Welcome to the Deep Dive, where the show that plunges into compelling sources to surface most potent insights for you. And today, well, we're dissecting an idea that, on the surface, it might sound like a recipe for a pretty dull weekend, actually. Just picture it. You wake up Saturday morning, sun's maybe shining, maybe not, but you've made this one resolute commitment. For the next 2 days, you will not spend a single dollar, not 1 cent, no casual brunch, no impulse click and buy online, nope, not even that sneaky emergency coffee run, just you. Whatever you've already got in this audacious goal, survive the weekend without opening your wallet. Now, I imagine for a lot of you listening that immediately triggers a feeling of, well, restriction, right? Like you're putting yourself under some kind of, I don't know, self-inflicted financial house arrest.
Exactly. And that initial gut reaction, that's precisely what makes this deep dive so interesting. Because what our collective sources show really powerfully through like tons of accounts and behavioral insights is that far from feeling restrictive, these zero spend weekends, they can actually be profoundly liberating. It's wonderfully counterintuitive, isn't it? By consciously taking money out of the picture, you're not just saving cash, though you are doing that too. You're unlocking this latent capacity for creativity. You're forcing a complete rethink of how you define enjoyment, how you use your precious time and what truly brings you that sense of fulfillment. It really challenges that deep-seated assumption that pleasure always has to be bought. So our mission today, it's really to unpack how this seemingly simple commitment, this like deliberate pause from buying stuff, how it can lead to unexpected joy, maybe some surprising discoveries, and genuine aha moments that honestly last way beyond the weekend. We're going to explore how stepping back from the immediate transaction, how that can actually help you step forward into a richer, maybe more intentional experience of life.
Okay, let's dive into that, because that tension you mentioned between the perceived restriction and the actual liberation, that's key. For so many of us, no spending just instantly conjures up, well, deprivation, missing out. But you're saying the sources argue it's not about deprivation, it's a reevaluation. How do they help us untangle that feeling, that sort of, a missing out feeling from what actually happens?
That is the absolute crux of it. What's really going on here is this concept directly challenges our ingrained habits, our defaults. I mean, we live in an environment that's constantly, often subtly nudging us towards consumption.
Right.
Feeling a bit empty, buy something. Bored, buy an experience. Hungry, order takeout. These are the easy paths our brains love, their established routes. But when that automatic, easy option is suddenly, boom, off the table, the brain doesn't just like freeze. It actually kicks into a different gear. It starts actively searching for alternative ways to engage, to find fulfillment. It starts problem solving for leisure. One behavioral economist we looked at described it as rewiring the brain's reward pathways, kind of decoupling that intrinsic satisfaction from needing to buy something external. It's this creative unlocking. It forces your mind to innovate, basically. It's pursuit of happiness using only what you've already got.
Right, okay. It's creative unlocking. It makes sense when you think about, well, your own home, your immediate surroundings. I mean, let's be honest. How many of us have hobbies just gathering actual dust? That guitar you bought, thinking this is it, sitting in the corner. Or that huge stack of books on the nightstand you swore you read last year, unfinished puzzles, paints you used maybe once. Or even just like taking a really long, slow walk around your own neighborhood, noticing things you usually rush past. But okay, here's a thought. Some might argue that being forced into a zero-spend weekend, picking up that dusty guitar, it might feel more like a chore, not spontaneous joy. How did the sources suggest we get past that initial inertia? How do we make it feel like finding treasure?
Yeah, that's a really fair point. It's a real concern. And our sources definitely highlight that the shift in mindset is, well, it's everything. It's about framing these things, these activities, not as forgotten chores or obligations, but like you said, as treasure waiting for attention, giving them a new kind of value almost. And this brings up a really important question, doesn't it? How often do we just overlook what's already there, what's right within reach, in favor of something external, something paid for, something new? We're sort of conditioned, I think, to seek novelty, to believe a new purchase or an outside experience is just inherently more stimulating. But a zero-spend weekend, it encourages conscious engagement rather than just passive consumption.
Ah, okay. So instead of being entertained by something you paid for.
Exactly. You become the active participant. You're the creator of your own experience. For instance, our sources had stories of people who finally picked up that dusty ukulele, right? Only to discover this amazing online community of learners, all free. Or people who tackled a forgotten patch of garden and turned it into this like thriving, herb bed. It fosters creativity and self-sufficiency. It really shifts the whole
Yeah.
dynamic. You go from being just a consumer to being like a resource manager of your own time and your own stuff. And that gives you a real sense of ownership over your leisure, which is quite powerful.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about that reframe. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about food, because that's another huge spending area for most people, right? And this is where the pantry challenge idea comes in, which the sources suggest can actually be, well, surprisingly fun, like being a contestant on one of those cooking shows. But your pantry is the mystery basket. You open the cupboards, you peer into the back of the fridge, and there it is. That forgotten can of chickpeas hiding back there, that half bag of rice from who knows when, those slightly sad-looking carrots in the crisper. And you think, okay, what magic can I actually make with this? Suddenly, you're not just like making dinner. You're solving a kind of delicious puzzle. And the payoff is instant, right? Boom. You just made dinner for maybe 4 people without spending a single penny. That feels good.
Oh, absolutely. That immediate win, that triumph. It isn't just about the money saved. It's like a little micro masterclass in resourcefulness every time you do it. There's just something deeply satisfying about using what you already have instead of constantly needing to buy more. It taps into this deeper sense of ingenuity, maybe self-reliance. It stops being just about, filling your stomach. It becomes creative culinary problem solving.
Right.
Every meal you pull together from what's already there feels like a small victory. A testament to your ability to make do and, importantly, make something delicious. And this process, often it leads to appreciating the food we have more, maybe wasting less, and it fosters the sense of accomplishment that, honestly, retail therapy just can't replicate. It highlights this mindset of, like, abundance within your current situation. It turns perceived scarcity into a creative challenge. And the satisfaction you get from that, it's different. It's earned.
Okay, so here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. Because beyond the fun, beyond the savings, there seems to be this deeper magic happening with these zero-spend weekends. Like, they actually train your brain. It's not just a one-off thing. It's like a consistent cognitive workout. It recalibrates your internal reward system. They subtly, but really powerfully, teach you this key lesson. True, lasting joy. It doesn't always have a price tag attached. You start to sort of untangle that automatic link we make between spending money and feeling happy. You see that many of the things that genuinely lift us up, deep connection with people, creative flow, being out in nature, even just proper rest, they're often free or nearly free.
Precisely. That's exactly the mechanism. You start to notice how often spending is just habit. It's the default setting, not a genuine necessity. We build routines around purchases, don't we? The daily coffee, the standard weekend outing, the casual online scroll when there's a lull. When you consciously break that pattern, even for a short intentional period like a weekend, you gain incredible clarity. You start to actually distinguish between what you truly value and what's just, well, autopilot behavior, a reaction. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, like you said, this lesson, it compounds. It's like cognitive interest.
Cognitive interest, I like that.
Yeah. The more you recognize that real fulfillment isn't always tied to swiping a card, the more fundamental control you actually gain over your finances in the long run. It's not just about saving a few quid here and there in the short term. It's about a much deeper long-term shift in mindset. It fosters greater financial independence, sure, but also a deeper understanding of what genuinely makes you happy. It's about building a more, I guess, intentional, conscious relationship with your money, and maybe just as importantly, with your time.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see how that builds over time, that cognitive interest idea. But hang on, what about the counter-argument? Some might say that forcing yourself not to spend could feel so restrictive that it leads to a kind of boomerang effect. You deprive yourself all weekend and then Monday hits and boom, massive spending spree. Do our sources address that potential pitfall, that feeling of needing to rebound?
That's an excellent question. And yes, it's definitely something the sources touch upon. The key difference, it seems, lies in the intention and the mindset going into it. If you frame the zero-spend weekend as harsh deprivation, like a punishment, yeah, rebound is pretty likely. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
However, when you approach it as an experiment, like we've been saying, or a challenge, approach with curiosity, maybe a sense of playfulness, searching for those alternative joys, the brain's response is actually different. It's not focused on scarcity. It's focused on resourcefulness. And that feeling of accomplishment you get from a successful no-spend weekend, it can actually reinforce the positive feelings associated with being creative, with being financially disciplined. It can reduce the urge to immediately overcompensate. So it's really about cultivating a new habit the habit of thoughtful spending, or rather, thoughtful non-spending sometimes, rather than just trying to suppress an old habit through sheer willpower. It's a subtle shift, but it seems to be a powerful one, turning restriction into a conscious choice for different kinds of rewards, basically.
Okay, that distinction is crucial. The framing, the mindset, making it an experiment. Got it. Now, let's be realistic here for a second. Is anyone going to live every weekend this way? Probably not. Of course not. Life happens. Sometimes a paid experience is exactly what you want or need, or it's part of a plan with friends or family. That's fine. But what the sources really highlight is the significant impact that even just, sprinkling in a few of these no-spend adventures each year can have. And we're not just talking pocket change here. We're talking potential savings of hundreds, maybe even thousands over time. And importantly, without that feeling of deprivation, if you approach it right, it doesn't have to be this all-or-nothing extreme lifestyle change to make a real difference, both in your bank account and in your head. So here's our direct challenge to you, drawing straight from this deep dive we've done. Pick one weekend, sometime this month, maybe next. Just one to start. Give it a fun name. Your zero-spend experiment, your resourcefulness challenge, maybe your weekend of free joy. Whatever works. Tell your friends, maybe get your family or housemates involved.
Make it playful. Turn it into a game. And just give yourself permission to really explore your home, your neighborhood, your own ingenuity, without reaching for your wallet, because you might just discover, as our sources strongly suggest, that some of the very best memories really don't cost a cent. Some of the richest, most meaningful experiences, they might just be waiting there for you to uncover them, free of charge, right there in your already actually quite abundant life.
Yeah, ultimately, these zero-spend weekends, they're about so much more than just saving money, aren't they? They represent this, genuinely transformative potential, I think. They really invite you to fundamentally shift your focus away from what you might feel you lack by not spending and towards appreciating the incredible abundance of what you already possess, the stuff, the skills, the time, and tapping into that boundless creativity you can unleash within yourself when you're not just defaulting to buying something. It's a really powerful reframe of value. And it fosters this deeper sense of agency, control over your own happiness.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now? As you go through your week, maybe start thinking about your next weekend. What hidden treasures, what forgotten joys, what untapped well springs of creativity are already sitting there in your life? Just waiting for a weekend of your focused, non-monetary attention. What did you discover?